Hi guys, welcome to my channel. You guys probably heard the news by now. Let me get my glasses. Welcome to my station. So, good morning everyone. There is claims circulating online right now that the United States has captured Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro. Before we jump into conclusions, because we're not sure, we're just hearing this thing, and we're also seeing what is captured by the news. The only way you can really get confirmation is when the people come out on the street saying that this is done. So what I'm going to be doing is looking at the newscasts that are on YouTube right now, broadcasting this information. Today's live is about separating facts from fiction. Now, we don't know. So we're just going to go and view. Just go on here. Just give me a second. I wanted to get on as quick as possible, so bear with me. I am also going to be sharing some clips that are from news broadcasts, so just bear with me. So we're gonna look at NBC, and then we're gonna look at some other stuff, okay? So I don't know who's on right now looking at me. I know I don't do live, and I'm doing a live from my kitchen area, so just bear with me. Okay. And this is interesting. I could only guess. A lot of people are still sleeping.
The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has just posted a statement on Truth Social. This is the first public acknowledgement by the United States.
Okay.
I will read it for you, just seeing this pop up on my phone as we speak while texting back and forth with senior advisors at the White House. From the President of the United States. The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolás Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow, according to the president. There will be a news conference, he says, today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago. He then punctuates it, as he often does, with thanks for your attention to this matter. It is signed by the president. So again, I want to repeat two of the key sentences in there. He confirms that the U.S. carried out this large-scale strike against Venezuela, and he says that its leader, President Nicolás Maduro, who has been...
So there you got the confirmation. So it is happening. Maduro is captured by the U.S. and it's announced by President Trump, and it was confirmed. I hope you guys are hearing me well. So this is definitely interesting. So let's continue.
With his wife captured and flown out of the country. So, according to the President of the United States, Nicolás Maduro is no longer on the ground in Venezuela. It leaves open a bit of a vacuum there in terms of leadership. It's not entirely clear who is effectively running that country at this time. I just want to get your immediate reaction to the news that we are hearing again in a Truth Social post from the President of the United States.
Well, this changes everything. This means that this was a regime change operation, and that this was had some degree of coordination. Witnesses earlier described helicopters. Witnesses described low-flying aircraft. I was taken aback by what you just said, that Nicolás Maduro and his wife have been taken into custody. That means there were either local forces on the ground or local forces working with Americans to hand over the leader and bring him out of the country. an extraordinary development. We just saw a regime change operation take place quickly in the early hours. You said, does it leave a power vacuum? I know that for the last several months, there have been conversations going on through intermediaries with...
So what they're saying is that this has been a regime change, meaning that it was negotiated between Trump and Maduro that some form of change was going to be made, and it's happening. So this is important, and it's being verified. Okay, this is actually factual. It's not hearsay, and it's not speculated, because they were in talks coming forward to this time. And I had an idea that this was going to happen. Trump was just doing the goodness of his heart to make sure that everybody enjoyed their Christmas and their New Year. And this is the outcome of the regime change.
The generals and the top leaders around Maduro trying to convince them to turn on him, to hand him over, to allow him to be arrested, and to get him to use the phrase what we had heard earlier, to cry uncle. He wasn't crying uncle, and now it seems he was arrested. An extraordinary development.
Now,
It
Richard,
started out with some boat strikes, and then to a military campaign.
So he was arrested, and there was no negotiation. Sorry, guys, I'm just listening. So I'm just like you right now, finding out what's going on. I decided to let go of this back and forth with covering the Venezuela issues. And so I'm listening. I'm just like you, fresh off the boat.
On land, and now a military operation and an arrest.
and Richard, that of course, it
truly
opens up a
extraordinary
lot.
development.
I apologize for interrupting again. That breaking news that according to the President of the United States, the U.S. has now successfully launched, carried out, as he says, what was a large-scale strike attacks in and around Caracas, the capital city of Venezuela. Beyond that, he says that the U.S. has captured, and flown out of the country Nicolás Maduro and his wife. And Richard, I bring this up because it's significant for a variety of reasons. Nicolás Maduro, only a matter of days ago, said in a new interview that he was open to negotiating with...
Okay, so it's getting back and forth. So 1 minute the guest is saying that he was captured, and the announcer is now saying that it was a negotiation between Maduro and the United States, President Trump. So it's like getting clarification. So we're going to be also looking at another news broadcast
to combat
soon,
drug trafficking, the first sign that this pressure...
just to verify the information and to be clear on...
Was there any resistance by Maduro when this took place? Was this in some way negotiated with those around him? Those are questions we have on the ground. As you say, the U.S. swept in and did this under the veil of darkness. It took place very quickly. We don't know what may have occurred on the ground right now, but it raises a lot of real questions about what, if any, conversations did exist in any form with Nicolás Maduro, or if this was the first contact when, in effect, the United States military was knocking on his door and sweeping up him and his wife and taking them out of the country.
Panama too. Noriega. People, those who remember the story. He was accused of being a narco trafficker, refused to leave. U.S. forces swept in and grabbed him. To answer some of the questions, I know for the last several months there have been contacts through intermediaries with Maduro's inner circle to try to convince him to leave the country. He was not interested. He was resisting. This pressure campaign has been escalating. First with the boats, then with the...
Now you have to pay attention to this guest speaker, and the guest speaker name is not there, but he's stating he has more of a liberal take to what's going on. I am more conservative when it comes to views and factual information. So his information is verifying that he's also making a comparison to Noriega, Nicaragua, when they too had this type of takeover or regime change. So you will hear the differences and the subtleties and the political affiliation when it comes to discussing this regime change.
President Trump declaring him a narco-terrorist. Then
See,
all of
so
the U.S. military buildup in the
he's
region.
more against Trump position in this regime change. So you'll hear a bit, different takes on it.
The aircraft carriers, the strike groups, the submarines, the drones, aircraft. Then, shortly before New Year's, a land strike allegedly carried out by the CIA. Very few details about what was hit then. And now, overnight, a capture operation. You don't do a capture operation without attacking some military sites, because you need to clear the airspace, you need to clear away air defenses, you need to protect the helicopters and the troops that are going in to remove the person you're trying to arrest. So the U.S., President Trump, just decided to pull a Panama II for New Year's and effect regime change in Venezuela. An extraordinary development. And you asked, was this coordinated? It could only have been coordinated with at least some people who turned on Maduro, because the people knew where he was. They knew where his family was. It sounds like he is still alive, and I would not be surprised if we see him in front of an American court in the coming weeks or months.
So this has been a dramatic series of developments taking place overnight in the early hours of this new year, January 3rd, shortly after 2 o'clock local time. The first reports from eyewitnesses on the ground of explosions taking place in and around the capital city of Caracas, Venezuela. And now, within a matter of minutes ago, we are hearing from the president again, detailing publicly, among other things, that the U.S. was behind what he described as a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, Nicolás Maduro. He says Maduro has been captured and flown out of the country alongside his wife. The president does not detail where they are being taken at this time. The president, who remains at his Mar-a-Lago estate, his property in Palm Beach, Florida, says that this operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement, and says that there will be orders and the American people at a news conference to take place at about 11 o'clock, Eastern time. I want to get back to Gabe Gutierrez, if I can, right now. He is our senior White House correspondent. Gabe, you're joining us by phone as well. You've been traveling with the president there, speaking to some of his aides and allies over the course of the last week, while most people were enjoying their holiday break. But the White House has been very focused on a variety of things. One, what's been taking place in Venezuela with a new series of boat strikes in recent days. That strike on a docking facility that the president himself revealed, though the U.S. has not said if the CIA was behind it. Separately, they've been focused on the situation between Russia and Ukraine as well. But the president, Gabe, as you and I have discussed together, has said publicly throughout that the desire is to end the transportation of illegal drugs into the United States, and the White House has sort of pushed back on the idea that this focus has been regime change. So the president himself said in an interview not long ago that Maduro's days were in effect numbered. This is a significant, notable change, and it does impact the U.S. in terms of its policy as it relates to Venezuela and to that region.
Oh, Peter, this is just staggering news, that announcement by the president that not only did the U.S. carry out these strikes, but actually has captured Nicolás Maduro. And you're right, Peter, we have had conflicting messages from this administration over the past several months on what was the goal of these boat strikes and of this military buildup in the Caribbean. Caribbean. Certainly, a lot of skeptics of the administration wondered why send so many troops to the Caribbean just for, airstrikes on these alleged drug boats in and around the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. And now it appears that this coordinated attack, an operation to remove Nicolás Maduro from power is just staggering news. And we had been hearing for quite some time, Peter, for the last several months. I remember speaking with some officials within the administration who did say that there had been some talks with members of Nicolás Maduro's inner circle, and that the administration was trying to get at least some of them to turn on Nicolás Maduro. Of course, we have many questions now about how exactly all this went down. What were the details? Did someone turn him in? How did this operation go down in the middle of the night, just after a holiday week? Certainly, we will hope to learn more of those details when the president speaks later on today in South Florida. But something I will bring up, Peter, and something we have not discussed, what happens now with leadership in Venezuela?
Right.
It was not very long ago that the leading Venezuelan opposition figure, Maria Corina Machado, she actually was recognized and accepted the Nobel Peace Prize for fighting for democracy. And she made this incredible, daring journey from being in hiding in Venezuela to collect her prize.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it.
Remember during the first Trump administration, the president
Meet Base 44, a
Guaido, while there were government protests back then, ongoing blackouts, hyperinflation, unrest inside Venezuela, but those protests fizzled, and Maduro stayed in power. Clearly, that is not the case this time, and many questions about the future of leadership in that country now.
Gabe, stay with us. Richard Engel, stay with us. To our viewers who are waking up and watching this this historic moment with us right now, the United States, in the words of the president, has successfully carried out a...
So guys, what I want to do is actually, I'll come back to this. What I want to do is play a replay on a video that was posted. Let me get the information right now. A video that was posted on an interview carried about with President Maduro before he was captured. Okay, so I'm gonna look at this video right now, and you're just gonna have to excuse my way of editing today. Everything is live, so I just want to cover this, and then we'll come back to the other pre-recorded, which was an hour ago by NBC. So let's look at this.
complete AI creation platform.
And then we'll go
Describe
back.
what you want and watch it take shape.
I hope you guys are hearing me. Now this is live. This was live, and this was recorded, I think, 15 hours ago, where I'm not Spanish or bilingual, but I could comprehend a bit. So let's just go about it. So it's going to be subtitled. You'll be able to understand it or read it.
Nosotros hemos tenido, Ramón, una sola conversación. Él me llamó el viernes 21 de noviembre desde la Casa Blanca estaba. Y yo estaba en el Palacio Miraflores. Conversamos 10 minutos. Y fue una conversación como...
So there you get it. He's verifying President Maduro, or the outgoing President Maduro was saying that he did speak with President Trump. He's verifying and validating it. So let's continue on. And please pay attention. It's very important that we listen and pay attention to what is going on. This is quite serious.
como yo he dicho, respetuosa, muy respetuosa,
¿Qué le dijo
cordial.
¿Qué le dijo el presidente Trump?
Lo primero que me dijo, Mr. President Maduro.
Excelente.
Y yo le dije, Mr. President Donald Trump. Y creo que fue hasta agradable esa conversación. Pero de ahí las evoluciones post conversación no han sido agradables. Y esperemos. Y al pueblo de Estados Unidos yo le digo lo que le he venido diciendo. Aquí en Venezuela tiene un pueblo hermano. Al pueblo de Estados Unidos inclusive le digo, aquí tienen a un gobierno amigo. Empezar a conversar en serio, con datos en la mano. Y el gobierno de Estados Unidos lo sabe, porque se lo hemos dicho a muchos de sus voceros, que si quieren conversar seriamente de un acuerdo de combate contra el narcotráfico, estamos listos. Que si quieren...
So he's saying that he's ready to talk about the drug trafficking, probably want to come to some sort of agreement and discussion on how it is that they could rectify the situation. So, and if it is that they want to talk about oil, he's open for investment and all this. Now, this happened before. This was filmed. I can't verify the time it was done or whatever, but he's explaining his talks with President Trump.
Petróleo de Venezuela, está lista Venezuela para inversión estadounidense como con Chevron. Cuando quieran, donde quieran y como quieran.
¿Qué te pareció?
Bueno, bueno.
Mira, Ramón, esta es
Qué precioso es esto.
expresión de la paz.
Okay, so that's it. So that was just a brief clip of what was discussed by President Maduro. Now we're going to go back to the actual presentation. Hold on. So we're going to go back. And we'll just go back to the news, to the browser. And we're back
A
on.
large-scale strike against Venezuela. The president adds that both its leader, Nicolás
This is
Maduro,
an
and
ABC
his
News
wife have
special
been
report.
captured and taken out of the country. Joining us now from
Good
the
morning.
ground
I'm
in
Allison
Caracas, that is
Cossack,
the
and we're
capital
coming on
city
the air
of
this morning
Venezuela, is
to tell you that
journalist
President Trump has
Vanessa
confirmed
Herrero.
that strikes on
Vanessa,
Venezuela
I know
have been
you
happening
have
over the
heard
past
the
few
president's
hours.
statement.
And according to
You've
President
seen
Trump,
what
that
he has said.
Nicolás Maduro
A matter of minutes
and
ago when we
his
spoke
wife
to you,
have
you were
been
reacting
captured
to
in
strikes on the
Venezuela.
ground. Now you're reacting for
There
the
have been
first time
scenes of multiple
live
explosions
to
and
word
low-flying
that there
aircraft.
is
All of that
no
heard
longer
beginning
a
around
President
2
Nicolás
a.m.
Maduro
local time
in
in the
Venezuela
capital
right
city
now.
of
I want
Caracas.
to get your
And the
reaction and what, if
FAA is
anything,
now
you're hearing
banning
from
U.S. commercial
from
flights
those
in
who are
Venezuela
awake at this
airspace
early hour
over
there.
what's being called ongoing military activity.
I think
This comes after
as you
weeks
all
of the
said,
U.S.
this is a
ramping up
historic
pressure on the
moment.
government of
Just one
President
second,
Venezuela,
guys.
including
Trump
seizing
just
2
confirmed
oil
this, but of
tankers
course,
and
when
conducting
the
deadly
footage, the
military
pictures,
strikes
the
on
story
alleged
about
drug
how he
boat
was caught,
smugglers.
to your
This week,
sister
the
and
Pentagon
all,
released
what
video of 2
happened,
vessels
when
being
exactly,
hit, saying
comes
they
to
were
light.
moving
I'm
along
sure
known
we're
narco
gonna see
trafficking routes and
a
engaging
great
in
deal
narco
of
trafficking.
reaction,
At
not
least
only
115 people
around,
have been killed in more than
Caracas, but
30
in the
strikes
entire
since
country.
September. The U.S. also deploying a large-scale buildup of military forces and assets in the Caribbean, sending the largest, most advanced aircraft carrier in the world, the USS Gerald Ford. It's now part of the 15,000 U.S. troops that are operating in that region. That's in addition to the joint training exercises in Trinidad and Tobago, just 7 miles away from Venezuela. The U.S. is reportedly installing a radar system on that island. In recent weeks, President Trump declaring that Venezuelan airspace should be considered closed in its entirety. Venezuela authorities denouncing that as a colonialist threat that seeks to affect the sovereignty of its airspace. The FAA warned major airlines about a potentially hazardous situation in the skies over Venezuela, citing worsening security and heightened military activity that could threaten aircraft.
Okay, I got it.
country. This is exactly a moment in history. We're talking about, 20 years of Chavismo just vanishing in over a night, over hours, not even a night, hours. I mean, this situation really, I believe now more than.
For those who are just tuning in, good morning and welcome to my channel. I am actually following up with the capture of President Nicolás Maduro, and also discussing whether or not it's factual. And we found out it is factual. President Trump did send out validating that President Nicolás Maduro and his wife have been captured. Also looking and seeing that there are going to be regime changes also announced by the media. We are actually doing a reaction with the NBC News, a special report, and verifying claims that President Maduro has been captured. So let's just go back. So this is a serious matter, and it's not a hearsay, it's validated. Okay, so let's go back.
Ever now that Donald Trump just tweeted that, said that on his Truth Social, that I believe that this strike was absolutely caught out of the blue, caught unaware the Venezuelan government. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling there, but it's really huge news right now.
No, Ana Vanessa, I appreciate your being with us right now, the first voice from inside Venezuela, sharing the experiences you've had, what you have seen there. If you can just take a breath for a moment. You know the situation about as well as anybody. You've covered that region, spent so much time clearly in Venezuela. Just your gut. When you heard that news, what was your reaction?
I was absolutely shocked, to be honest. I didn't believe this could be possible. I still don't know. I still don't know what is happening right now. We don't have confirmation again about. At least from Venezuela, we don't have anyone saying that this happened or how it happened. But there are a lot of videos flowing around WhatsApp and social media showing helicopters near what they claim, the people recording claim to be the house of high government officials. Jorge Rodriguez, Cabello. We haven't heard from them. So we do know now about Nicolás Maduro and Silvia Flores, but we don't know about, for example, Maduro's number two, Diosdado Cabello, who is also a huge name for the U.S. government. We have no confirmation of his whereabouts. We don't know if his was affected by the strike, if he was in Caracas at the moment. We just don't know.
Well, Ana Vanessa, you know what's striking to me is we obviously need to get a better understanding from the White House and from others about the timeline that took place here. But we did quickly get a statement from the Venezuelan government after these strikes began, saying in effect that this was an extremely serious military act of aggression. So it raises questions about if Nicolás Maduro was no longer in a position to be leading, who is leading, who in the system is still governing, in effect, to be putting out these defiant statements directed at the United States, and what, if any, plan exists to help try to stabilize that country, as it were, in the immediate days and weeks that may follow here, without its leader, though a leader that the U.S. described as the head of a narco-terrorist state, without its presence there on the ground.
Well, it is unknown because we just know, as I was telling you, we only know about Nicolás Maduro and Celia Flores. We don't know, for example, about Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, or Jorge Rodriguez, the head of the Chavista-controlled Congress and the parliament. So we don't know, for example, if Delcy Rodriguez is still here, she should, if it's still, she's still in Venezuela, if she's not affected, she wasn't affected by the strikes, then we should hear from her in order to understand what's going to happen next. But if the high members, 6 or 7 high members of the Venezuelan government, Nicolás Maduro's government, were also maybe taken or affected, then we don't know what would the protocol be. We do know that Nobel laureate Maria Corina Machado, who was is a key ally to Edmundo Gonzalez, who was the winner of 2024 elections according to the vote tallies. We do know that she said that they have the transition already to start whenever Nicolás Maduro was out of power. So maybe we can expect the opposition to take the place and start this this so-called transition into maybe new elections.
Ana Vanessa Herrero, we are so grateful that we've been able to speak to you live for our rolling coverage of this historic developing news we've been watching from the ground in Caracas.
He's right. This is historic. This is something that hasn't happened. I mean, Venezuela, this regime change is very big, very big. And it's beneficial, also beneficial to the Western Hemisphere in all sides. You know, this can have, there will be more a controlled area, and it might be good, it might be bad in some people's eyes, but let's look and see how it will happen. You know, I was totally shocked when I got up this morning. I normally sleep with my remote, people, and I rolled over on my remote, the television came on, and I actually went on YouTube, and there I was greeted with news flash on Maduro and his wife being captured and flown out of the country. So this is news. I know that everyone, I hope that my viewers in Trinidad and Tobago is aware of what is going on. And I see this as a good thing. I see this as helping the people of Venezuela come to terms, come to enjoy their freedom. So let's see how it will happen and how effective this regime change is going to be. This will impact the Caribbean region most definitely. Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, the energy security, the Dragon gas deal that was given the okay by the United States on its license to drill. Also bring forth energy security, as well as migration pressure would be decreased, where there would not be a high increase of people migrating outside or migrating to America and to the environs. Also, the U.S. presence is going to be there, and it's going to be really, really, really interesting to see what 2026 will bring forward to the region. to the Caribbean region, to the Americas, North America, Central America, and Latin America, or South America. So this is interesting. As you guys know, right now there is verified evidence that President Maduro has been captured by the United States. This is ongoing, and information of war. I don't think war is going to be something that is going to be happening anymore, because President Maduro has been captured. The instability surrounding Venezuela is still ongoing. We still have to find out what is really taking place right now on the ground. As you guys know, there have been explosions captured on news broadcasts, and there are things that are happening. This is why we are analyzing and stay informed, stay grounded. Just stay grounded, keep informed, and rely on factual information right now. And I see this, I believe that God is working in the situation, making it easier for regime transactions. Stay tuned also, because I will be doing a reaction and covering President Trump's speech on this regime change. So guys, thank you for being on with me. I hope that you will join me live in a couple of hours. But you know what? I don't want to come off just yet. I have 17 viewers who probably are not informed or just woke up. And I want to say good morning to you guys again. Good morning. Welcome. I am actually online live right now covering United States capturing President Maduro and his wife, who has been captured and flown out of the country. So what I'm going to do is just go back on for 5 more minutes, because we do have I'm going to continue on with the NBC program, and then we'll follow up with another clip.
Venezuela again, and we repeat it because it's so dramatic, and I think, frankly, for a lot of people, quite stunning, is Ana Vanessa herself just said, the President of the United States making very clear that the U.S. has successfully carried out a large-scale strike in Caracas, Venezuela, that country's capital city, and the President says that its President, Nicolás Maduro, has been captured. He, alongside his wife, have been taken out of the country by the United States. I want, if I can, very quickly to get back to Richard Engel, our chief foreign correspondent, for a moment. Richard, do you hear me?
Extraordinary development.
Richard, where does the U.S. take, I apologize for interrupting, where could the U.S. take Nicolás Maduro at a moment like this?
Well, you would take him into U.S. custody. You would take him to a warship, because they were talking about helicopters. So you would take him to some sort of warship, and then from a warship, flown back to the United States. Again, this is very similar to Panama, very similar to Noriega. The U.S. went in, grabbed him, and then once he's in custody. So there are a series of steps, but these are the kind of operations that are carried out by Navy SEALs, Delta Force, close coordination with the CIA. The United States has some experience with this. The United States for decades was involved in a war on terrorism, involved in in kill and capture operations all over the world. It would have been much much easier to carry out an assassination campaign. And clearly the United States knew where Nicolas Maduro was. Clearly there was coordination on the inside. It would have been far easier to do what Israel did in Iran. Pick your target and carry out an assassination strike. But it seems that they wanted to arrest him. They wanted him in custody. And the closest place that is American custody would be a warship, and then from the warship to the U.S. mainland. So I would be expecting that we will see Nicolas Maduro in front of an American court before too long, and it will be a moment for Marco Rubio to celebrate, a way for the Trump administration to prove it's serious about exerting its force in Latin America. Let's not forget one of the first things President Trump did was call the
I would say it's like having another producer in the room that knows exactly what
wants to show
This is co-producer.
dominance
Fastest way to find samples that
America's
fit your
backyard.
track. It listens to your track and
carried
pulls
out
in
I don't say breathtaking, but a surprise secret operation. The Venezuelan journalist you were talking to a short while ago said that she was shocked by this news. Peter, we were on air when this news came in. I almost asked you to repeat it. Did you really say the U.S. just went in and arrested Maduro?
Yeah.
Clearly they did. He had not been responding to the escalating pressure campaign. He had not been crying uncle. He had recently said that he was willing to negotiate. He was willing to collaborate. He was willing to find out a solution. It reminds me of the days of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein in Iraq, when he was arrested, he had been hiding in a hole, and the first thing he did is he put up his hands and he said, I am Saddam Hussein, and I am willing to negotiate. It was too late for negotiations at that stage, and he was taken into custody and then ultimately handed over to the Iraqis and executed. I think at this stage, Nicolas Maduro, who has already been called a terrorist, already been charged with narco crimes, will end up facing an American court and probably being sentenced to a litany of crimes.
Richard, I want to marinate in this moment for a sec about whatever type of operation it would require to be able to go in there and sweep up Nicolas Maduro, to take his wife with him as well out of that country. As the president said, the circumstances, of course, are very different, but there have been other operations that have been veiled in secrecy, that stunned in many ways the world. You've been talking about the situation with Saddam Hussein, the very different circumstances. The United States back in 2011, of course, was able to go into Abbottabad, Pakistan, where they found Osama bin Laden, who had been hiding out there. That was a very different desire. He was not the leader of any country, of course. In fact, he was a terrorist leader, and he was killed in the course of that operation.
Okay, guys, so what I'm going to do right now is jump ship. I am going to actually bring on Fox News, and then we'll take a look at what Fox is saying. We just viewed NBC News and their coverage, and now we are going on to Fox News. So just bear with me for a second. Now this is live. This is live, so that means it's Trump's press hearing conference is going to be at 11 a.m. I am seeing that Fox actually has live cam focusing on the city of Caracas right now. So there's no live correspondences or any sort of audio except just watching Caracas. I believe this is Caracas. Yeah. I'm not seeing any sort of explosions. I'm not seeing anybody outside. It is very quiet. This is the morning of this is January 3rd, and it's in I'm in New York right now, and it's 7:29 a.m. So we're looking at live Venezuela, and it's also stating the time over there in Venezuela, which is 8:27. Remember, they are an hour ahead of us, and this is Caracas, Venezuela right now, and we're hearing the birds chirping, and it's very quiet. So there is nothing being spoken here right now at this live viewing in Caracas. I'm going to, it says Steve is taking a break. So the announcer right now is on break, and we are just looking, excuse me, we are just looking at a live cam recording going focusing on Caracas. I'm just gonna repeat what I said before. I am actually doing a live right now. President Nicolás Maduro has been captured with his wife by the U.S. It has been validated by President Trump that this news is factual. Also, he's going to have a press conference at 11 a.m. If you guys want to join me doing my reaction on the live, please feel free to do it. I am not a streamer, and when I say streamer, a live streamer, I normally do pre-recorded videos on reactions and praying for those in authority. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Renor. I'm doing a reaction on President Maduro being captured by the United States. This is a regime change in making. Okay, so while we are waiting for Steve to come off his break to do his announcements for the Fox News, we are going to go back onto NBC. Okay. I'm going to put a pause on this. Come off. And we are going to go back on to NBC News.
The U.S. ability to do this in secrecy, and at least to this point, we're waiting for any information about whether any Americans, whether there was any resistance, whether arms were fired at American troops, or whether the situation was not too dissimilar to the one you detailed with Saddam Hussein, where he just put his hands up at the time. But the U.S. has, it reminds Americans of the unique capabilities the U.S. has when the orders come from the President of the United States with the military involved to do something of such a high and dramatic scale like this.
This would be the helicopter operation. You can't land a fixed-wing aircraft in the middle of a city. And witnesses in Caracas described hearing helicopters. So the reason you do a wide-scale military operation is to make sure that the forces going in are protected. Venezuela does have allies in Russia, does have anti-aircraft systems. Its military is a bit of a shambles. The country is under sanctions. There is an elite that has a lot of money, and then it's a great deal of poverty. Most of the refugees that are spreading around across Latin America, many of them come from Venezuela itself. So an impoverished nation that has been run by a dictator who has now been arrested. But it definitely demonstrates the U.S. capabilities. And I stress, because I've been speaking to mediators for months now, there has been an escalating pressure campaign directed not just on Maduro, but around his inner circle, the military around him, to hand him over. And And Maduro's response was either to laugh it off. You remember he was seen in holding rallies, singing John Lennon songs, saying, "Imagine a time we can have peace." He was saying that this was just a great big American Yankee imperial plot, and he wasn't getting the message. People around him clearly got worried, and it seems like someone turned him in. With the U.S. military pressure in the region, with the strikes on the boats, and then that strike on land.
I didn't know this. You see, that's why it's good to pay attention. So he's saying it was a plot. Now we're getting different information from different news broadcasts. One minute, this reporter is saying that he was turned in. So that means that 50 million. Now this is allegedly. Okay, I'm not sure. He's saying, I'm going by what this newscaster is saying. He's saying that Maduro was turned in, and then I'm hearing that he did discuss regime change with President Trump, allegedly. I'm not sure. And then I'm hearing different ideas passing through of what happened. So I'm just like you right now, trying to, pick out what truth from fact, truth from fiction. So just bear with me and join me. So here it is. I'm going to go back on, and then we would go back on to Steve from Fox. Okay.
And just before New Year's, I think you can see these now, how they line up, leading to what we saw overnight. An escalating campaign of military presence, boat strikes, a land strike, back channel negotiations to...
So he said there was a land strike. There was a land strike. It was reported yesterday, but I don't think a lot of people were paying attention to what was happening in Venezuela. I think the YouTube and the social media has been so saturated with different views, different newscasts, and I was even getting a bit tired reporting on what it is that was happening, because as you guys know, I've been born, well, I'm a Trinidadian. Sorry if I just wanted to make sure I pronounce or say what I was. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. So it came close to my heart, and being so close to Venezuela, also knowing a lot of Venezuelans personally from my country, and being here, this news on the regime change and on the land explosion and the boats being exploded also at sea has touched my heart very deeply, and it's very close to home. So this is one of my reasons for following up, doing my reaction videos, also posting a broadcast on what is going on right now in that region. Also, as I said before, I have been led to pray for those in authority, praying and asking God to protect the island, the region, the Caribbean region, and also protecting Venezuela from anything that is really traumatic in this whole situation, proving that, praying to prevent war. And I see this as a stepping stone where the regime change is going to happen, and I don't see war as being distressor. I don't see it happening, so just you have your own opinion, you have your own view. You might not like what I have to say, but I believe God is working in this situation, and I believe Venezuela is going to be alive and well, and the people of Venezuela are going to be happy in this whole situation, having a regime change, and it's for the betterment. So let's just continue on, and then we'll go back on to Steve at the Fox Network.
Get the inner circle to turn on Maduro, and now a capture operation. You mentioned Osama bin Laden. That was a kill operation. Kill operations are much easier. You know where he is, you bomb it,
Right.
it's over. But the Trump administration clearly wanted to take him, go power, and put him in front of a court.
Just to pull back the curtain to let our audience in on some of what happens behind the scenes during developments like this, we have been reaching out to our to those who work at the White House and the Pentagon as well for any additional details. I've been texting as we speak with officials in and around the White House for any better details. We've now been asking where Nicolás Maduro has been taken, is being taken. They have yet to respond to that. Again, the president saying that he will hold a news conference to take place at 11 o'clock, which is, what, if it's almost 5 o'clock here, roughly 6 hours from now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated.
And now, overnight, a capture operation. You don't do a capture operation without attacking some military sites, because you need to clear the airspace, you need to clear away air defenses, you need to protect helicopters and the troops coming in to remove the person you're trying to arrest. So the U.S., President Trump, just decided to pull a Panama 2 years effect regime change in Venezuela. An extraordinary development. And you asked, was this coordinated? It could only have been coordinated with at least some people who turned on Maduro, because the people knew where he was. They knew where his family was. It sounds like he's still alive, and I would not be surprised if we see him in front of an American court in the coming weeks or months.
So this is a dramatic series of developments taking place overnight in the early hours of this new year, January 3rd, shortly after 2 o'clock local time. The first reports from eyewitnesses on the ground of explosions taking place in and around the capital city of Caracas, Venezuela. And now, within a matter of minutes ago, we are hearing from the president again, detailing publicly, among other things.
Okay, so we're going back to Steve. Steve is on his break still. So what I'm going to do is just loop back one more time, at approximately 5 more minutes, on what was said by the NBC. And we're going to go back there and right now.
That the U.S. was behind what he describes a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, Nicolás Maduro. He says Maduro has been captured and flown out of the country alongside his wife. The president does not detail where they are being taken. At this time, the president, who remains at his Mar-a-Lago estate, his property in Palm Beach, Florida, says this operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement, says that there will be and the American people at a news conference to take place at 11 o'clock. Excuse me.
So there you have it. The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolás Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. Wait, I'm not seeing that just now. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at the Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your, I'm not seeing that. Yeah, so that's a tweet from President Trump.
Series of boat strikes in recent days. That strike on a docking facility that the president himself revealed.
Okay, guys, so again, I want to say thank you for those who viewed, those who joined me on this live. I am going to be back at 11 a.m. And I want to say good morning to everyone and have a pleasant day. Stay tuned, stay blessed, and take time to pray for the leaders, the regime change. Take time to put God first in everything. Bye. Who God bless, no man curse.